Report here today, where we're going to cover a few of the top headlines here that are worthy of mentioning to you. And we cover this in part because we try to take what happens on Wall Street, the economic portion, the political portion in DC, and bring things down to Main Street and keep it real for viewers just like you. And we try to cut through some of the fluff and make sure what you're getting is the news that matters most, and doesn't have any kind of a political slant one way or another, just the news, just the stories, and the things that people on Main Street should be asking. So we're going to go ahead and cover a couple of those top stories here. And I want to remind you, if you are new to this show, go ahead, hit like and subscribe. You will have access to my long form videos and, of course, the short forms that will show up as well as they get produced. So thank you very much. Let's continue. All right, so first of all, first story is that markets brace for CPI, which is short for Consumer Price Index numbers. And of course, with that means, is there going to be a bump in cost for consumers? And if the consumer is paying more at the cash register, how does it affect them? How does it affect their spending habits? And how does it really symbolize the economy moving forward? So these are really important numbers to be mentioned. All right. Another important story that came out today that is worth mentioning is the United States has worked with NVIDIA and AMD, standing for Advanced Micro Devices. They are two chip companies. And it's very interesting that both of these companies have agreed to hand over 15% of their China-related chip revenue to the U.S. government. And what are they doing there? In exchange, they're getting a license, right? And it appears as though this license is going to allow them to continue doing business with China. And it's kind of a crazy thought if you think about it, because the fact is that this is two companies that really seem to be getting, dare I say, shaken down, wrestled down at least, for a portion of their revenue. And I find it almost unprecedented, so it's a good story to follow. Let's go ahead and follow headline number 2, which is global markets watching the trade deadline and, of course, the U.S.-Russian summit. Very important story. Hey, thanks for joining me. Thanks for dropping a like and your comment below, folks. If you think anybody else should be at this particular live, go ahead and invite them because your thoughts matter. Where am I from? I'm from the great state of Ohio, so welcome. Thank you for asking, Competition Shot. Delmes fan, well, welcome to have you here as well. My name is Brian from the Economic Report, and we try to meet here on a regular basis, talk about the things that matter and matter a ton. Once again, taking Main Street, taking things from DC and bringing them down to Main Street and keeping those stories real and cutting through all the crap and the political spin that gets put on by all these different news stations, right? And all that I ask is for a like and a subscribe so I can deliver these right to your inbox on a regular basis. And, well, we're not going to reveal my age. Just say that I'm very, very young acting. We'll put it that way. Let's go ahead. Of course, there's continued coverage of this Epstein file. And if you're kind of disturbed by the Epstein stuff, you kind of should be. Not so much that it involves politicians and a lot of powerful people, although that in of itself is disturbing. But the fact is that it's been politicized in so many different ways. And of course, there are victims involved with this. And the fact is, we'd like to hear from the victims more, and we don't hear anything from the victims in this whole thing. And I think there's a ton of people that probably could have brought this thing to a close instead of dragging it out. But yeah, DC politics is such that people like to take other people's dirty laundry and air it out, and it's kind of a nasty business. And I'm mentioning that to you because it's part of the mainstream news cycle, and I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Let's continue. Next story here. Well, walk-off Mets. All right. Sad Day TV. No. We'll go ahead and talk about a couple of other things here. I can share a couple of other things here that are worth sharing. I had an earlier live session here that I shared with you. We've talked about a couple things here that matter and matter a ton. from precious metals prices to crypto prices, and of course, a couple of the top stories we were covering, because the rare earth story is a very real story, and it's going to play out this Friday when the President of the United States and Putin meet. And I find it interesting, of all places they could meet, they're meeting in Alaska, and that's right where the U.S. and Russian territory meet. One. Number two, it is territory that Russia sold to the United States back in like the 1880s during the McKinley administration, if I'm not mistaken. Number three, and also important, is the vast amount of natural resources that are available both in Russia and the United States. And so if I understand Trump, and I understand the reason why he's only meeting with Putin, I would say that they're going to talk about a lot of things that are above and beyond just the Ukraine. And it's not just a meeting about the Ukraine. It's a meeting about probably the world political situation, economics, etc. And there is no question about it. A portion of that meeting will be about the Ukraine. It will be about, of course, the Russian war, and of course, the hope that there would be some kind of a resolution to this, because nobody likes it. But my belief is that this meeting's a lot bigger than what we're seeing here. It could be about the U.S. dollar. It could be about the emergence of the BRIC nations. There could be even additional stories about natural resources for Europe that the Soviet Union has, and it could be maybe even Trump's way of trying to woo Putin to be more like Europe and less like having a relationship with North Korea or even China, right? So that's a really, really important story to mention there. And of course, this could even delve into the relationship between the United States and Israel, and of course, Russia's support for Iran, because that's another important story to follow here as well. From the economic report, we do touch base on that on a regular basis here as well, particularly on our lives. And if you've not done so far, make sure you have liked and subscribed to this channel, because I can deliver content to your inbox on a daily basis, whether they are short form, whether they are long form. The fact of the matter is, we are here about taking things that happen on Wall Street, which is the economics, and of course, the next thing is the things that happen on Wall Street, DC, the politics, and of course, bring them down to Main Street and keep them real for people just like us. So with that, that's kind of where we are operating from this. I've got a little bit of coffee left here, so I can handle some Q&As here, and I do get Q&As on a regular basis. Drop where you are from, anywhere that's obviously listening to this channel, inside the United States or beyond. I know I get people all over the planet. According to my statistics, I've got a large portion of people from the United States, a large portion of people from Canada, and a lot of people from the UK as well, which is kind of a cool thing if you think about it. So between that, I've got a worldwide audience here. And with that, I really appreciate the thoughtful comments, and of course, the people that follow the channel on a regular basis. And of course, when you've gone as far to subscribe, you're telling YouTube that you like what you hear, and you're going to come back and you'll continue following these stories here in the not too distant future. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, are there any other comments or questions here? We can go into a couple things here. We've talked crypto today, and if I could mention that to you in passing, once again, we are looking at near all-time high is Bitcoin, right around $119,000 per Bitcoin right now. It's a great story to follow. Ethereum making a nice move, as is Solana. Solana off of its all-time high. Ethereum near its all-time high. So good stories to follow here if you follow the crypto stories. There's so many different nuances to crypto that I'm saying it really is a game that has a leveraged return on investment results, but also a considerable amount of opportunity to, well, have people lose everything they've got. So you got to be really, really careful with that. Gold and silver both off today as well. Gold and silver both down a couple of percentage points. So it's another important story to follow here, of course. And Wall Street, of course, edging a little bit up, a little bit down. They're teetering back and forth here. with the release of new data coming out, and of course, what the Federal Reserve plans on doing with last week's revision in jobs numbers. My belief is that now there is actually enough evidence available for the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell to make a move with a cut in interest rates, but we'll see, right? Once again, the president's very, very pushy with that. And of course, at the other portion, there's a whole nother story about people who are trying to twist the arm of an independent organization like the Federal Reserve. And of course, they don't like that. They don't like the bullying. They need to be an independent organization apart from any other political influence. That's how the Federal Reserve is set up. And interestingly enough, it's how the Supreme Court is also set up, right? Any kind of a federal judge has their position for life, right? Until the day they retire or the day they die. And the idea behind that is, once again, that they're making these decisions and they will not be affected politically. Nobody can vote them out of office. Nobody can do anything to weaken their position because they're a federal judge, right? So with that, thanks for joining me. It's been a wonderful second episode here today at the Economic Report. And I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and a couple parting thoughts here. Folks, remember, the biggest battle you fight is the one between your ears of your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. Folks, if you're out today, make sure you smile, say hello, because you make somebody else's day, and it doesn't cost you a cent to be a good human being. Until next time, catch you next Economic Report. Have a great day.